You see, the modern day Thierry Henry, who is just another overhyped striker, was not really worth 100 million. Alexander Isak, let's take a look. So from a stats perspective, Isak's numbers in terms of shots per 90 and shots on target is actually lower than everyone else, maybe the exception of Cunha. Right, but if you take a look at his shots on target percentage, he's actually right up there with Sesko. Even his XG itself is lower than his actual conversion rate, which is actually a good thing. Like from the eye test, you're going to concur with the stats that he actually likes to close down in on goal, pay in, and accurately places shots. That's why you're going to see that in the stats. Only Haaland is a shorter distance between himself and the goal on average when converting. I think Isak's key strength is his ability to finish under pressure, even if he is flanked by a defender or is expected to just come up with a left foot strike like this. To note he's right-footed, he does those clean conversions. There you see him again in this clip, does that, finishes on his left. It's composed, but you can clearly see that it's his weaker foot, right? Isak's also is able to do these finishes like use the spin on the ball, the pace on the ball. He doesn't stop it. He just goes with the flow and converts. Cuts makes him lethal. That makes him good even for the Swedish international team. Comes up, spectacular volley. Instead, say that Isak's shot creating actions or goal creating actions are lower than Cunha's or Kane's, but you do see that he does have decent amount of pass live shot creating types as Ozulu's GCA. It's important to note that his numbers are relatively higher than Sheshko's. Would tend to say that maybe the demands in the EPL are a bit higher, but I think he's improved over time. I believe the eye test is important as much as assessing Isak off paper. I think that if you take a look at his actual gameplay, be it with the national team or in his capacity before in teams that come up, the key thing that Isak does is he does take on defenders, he does take on goalkeepers in 1v1 situations, and he does have situations, so to speak, where you see him moving with an attack line, doing that take on, for instance, against Liverpool. You see him there playing City. It's a key trademark. Takes on and he converts. Clearly, he's going to do this take on, and sometimes it's going to come off nice. Like his decision was to take a shot, it wasn't too far off. That didn't convert. Here becomes a take on, and it also becomes a pass, which creates a shooting opportunity for a teammate. They see in this clip, takes on players, and there is another SCA moment. They see him through, coming in, running at the defense. Again, it's a take on and a clear direct pass. So Isak has clearly developed over time, especially in his time in La Liga, out of his time from Borussia. There comes up there. This time it doesn't shoot. He assists. There comes up, take on, pass again. And most of it is live passes, not from dead ball situations. So in assessing his area of potency, I just went with the eye test. Isak does seem to be able to climb up there, and mostly that's when he's free by himself. We find that if he's challenged and there's proper defense, he's more or less coming off not so confident. But give him an opportunity to have a clear header, he will punish you. I think with Newcastle, he really has improved his quality. I want to just see, I picked just one clip from back in the day. He wasn't as assertive or as confident, but definitely now he's improved. So Isak's strength in any team is ability to link up, whether from the mid or up front. See that there is a high pass accuracy in the first table. Take a look at the second table. Shows you the progressive distance he covers. Actually only second to Cunha. You also look at the total distance of his passes, close to 210. It's actually only less than Kane and Cunha. So in this clip here, I had to make a special annotation for you to see how he plays. There you see, he has the vision. He drops deep, picks up the ball and picks out his man on the flank, makes the run into the center, runs at the defense, makes an attempt on goal. Eventually it becomes an assist or a rebound. So the eye test is clearly going to show that Isak, when in front and playing or merging or gelling with a very fast attacking line, can be very lethal. Most of his passes are into space. He's got the vision to see that there's space behind and exploit and break through lines. They in the half spaces, or even if he's going to be coming up directly and trying to dribble his way through, he's potent like that. I think essentially in the last season where you saw him link up with the likes of Murphy and Gordon on the flank, clearly show that how devastating he can be. He's got also the intelligence just to also see if he's not giving the pass, he's receiving the pass. Even while playing in that league, that was the same modus operandi. He's able to run into space, whether it's on the left or on the right. He's able to make those decisions to say, okay, I'm not in a scoring position, I can assist. He can run in from deep, or he can collect the ball at the middle of the park and try and distribute. That little interchange between his feet. He's got very quick feet. He's got the stamina that's coming up. I wanted to particularly focus on Isak's ability to keep the flow of the game by picking a pass back. If he doesn't find that there's space at the front, he's able to play it back. But notice how he immediately runs and gets into space to keep the momentum up, to keep the offense up. It doesn't take out the tempo from the game. I actually think maybe if he does have the intelligence to play maybe like a register like the Busquets we did see it what you call it at Barcelona back in the day, but I'm not sure I've seen him playing with the slow setup. Maybe when he was younger, but then his football IQ wasn't exactly where it is now. Now, I believe Newcastle are really trying to hold on to a mature player who's really a centerpiece, who can really evolve and who's really at his prime. Not sure if it's too fair on him. You really see from the eye test here how effective he is. He can clearly just turn the tempo from being slow to instant attack. He's got the wisdom, the vision, and the maturity to now decide and say, where's the ball going next? Which space am I exploiting? And he can hold central defenders. So in this clip, you see one of the greats, Thiery and Lee, fight for the ball and turn and try to use his quick of turn of pace to move. So Isak, besides wearing this jersey number 14, if you'd like to see some similarities, he's able to use a quick turn of pace when he just blindsides the defender like that. There's nostalgia definitely there. I also think as he's come of age, especially in his time in Newcastle, he's grown into his body. He's also, I think, actually at the prime of his pace. You'd be able to see Thierry also do some of these things, be able to turn and actually throw fouls from the turn that he'd make. He fights for the ball. He's like there, steady on his feet. If you watched him a bit earlier on, like playing in the Bundesliga a bit there, he'd want to go over a bit softly, but Isak doesn't do that a lot anymore, especially if in his own half he fights for the ball. It's quite similar to Henrik. He's coming to his physical stature, though he's still more on the lanky side, and I don't believe, even ultimately when he does get to his full potential, I don't believe he's going to be in the same weight class as Henry, the same stamina, or the same durability like that. But in terms of pace, in terms of technique, in terms of ball control, we do have that throwback. Like at the time of this recording, it's unfortunate that we haven't seen Isak in the 2025-2026 season. But I believe when he does come back, we're still going to see a lot more of that energy, a lot more of that blistering pace, a lot more of that steady on your feet, 90-minute football from the Swedish International. He's a marvel to watch. Definitely going to be up there with the greats like Henry if he spends as much time in the EPL. So in the preview, we're taking a look at when Isak does attempt to make a cross. So from a stats perspective, Cunha and Kane are better. Sesko and Haaland are at the end of crosses. So there's no surprises there. So if you take a look at the eye test, he's mostly going to be trying to cross with his right foot. It's the stronger foot. He does do attempt on his left, but not as much. I think from the footage I found, he does get a number of assists from this ability of his to be able to cross. It's fairly decent. The technique is there. He's balanced. He's not laboring or falling over. And he isn't really breaking his stride or taking the impetus out of the attack by crossing. Can loop them, can hit them with a bit of power. You see that is a close quarters pass or assist. Decent. So in this preview, you're going to clearly see the vision Isak has. He builds on his pace, he threads through those long accurate balls and creates a menace literally if he has a fast attacking forward pack. Now if you take a look at the stats, there it is. Long passes, the highest accuracy there is, though there is a lower number of frequency of attempts at it. In the 2024-2025 season, Newcastle exploited this a lot. Isak drops deep, releases those long accurate balls to create threats instantly, like off the back foot. There you see him again cross the ball, whether he's on the left or on the right of the flank. They create another dangerous, almost actually in this next instance, you could say it comes into short medium passing. It creates very dangerous situations. There again, across the field, finds Gordon. So in terms of his short to medium passing, you're going to find that Isak is one of the most accurate. Actually, in terms of his medium passing, even the short passing is only second to Cunha. So overall, yes, he's actually the most accurate, though in terms of volume, this is doing less than Cunha or Kane. But I could also say maybe the volume is attributed to him being less passing and running more with the ball, I'd say. So from this clip in the eye test, you're going to see what we're talking about there. Isak picks it, he has the vision, Gordon runs onto the ball. Now for balance, not to say actually his way of getting it right, but if you're going to take a look at this next clip, comes through, gets the ball, makes the connection. If you take a look at the next couple of clips though, it's not to say that building from his vision, he doesn't get things wrong. He's got a high percentage of accuracy. Sometimes the intention is okay, communication breakdowns or pressure, he does get things wrong. There you can clearly see the vision, Tonali running in the frame, the intention gets closed down. I think in summary, for the most part, you're going to see bloopers coming down to communication, not necessarily execution.
Arsenal half, the space was there for Rice.
So if there is a space that Isak is found wanting, despite being that tall, is in terms of his aerial capabilities. He loses out to everyone, but a relatively shorter Cunha. He just wins 35% of his aerial duels. But I'm also going to try and be optimistic and say from the eye test, from what I've seen, those numbers are primarily from the days he's a younger man. In the EPL, he's relatively improved, though still he's not in the same space as the likes of Haaland. So in the very first clip, we see the challenge with Isak. Close quarter duels, he doesn't really go in there wholeheartedly. The next clip, you're going to see that he does make more of an effort. He's by himself and he sees this clearance, he's going to make an attempt. I think he's more averse to putting himself at risk, and when he doesn't have too much leg room, it's almost like he thinks twice. But then, like I said again, sometimes he does go in for them, and I think it's an aspect of his game he could improve, which he's definitely improving. So from a stats perspective, Isak seems to have the second lowest number of touches in terms of participation in the game. Only Haaland is less touches. But still, in terms of impact, we have to take a look and say in the attacking third, he's got a decent amount of touches. Better than Sesko, better than Haaland. Then you have to also take a look at, in terms of his defensive capacity, he's more active in the defensive third than a Haaland, but his numbers are still lower than everyone else in terms of the number of touches he has. For a forward though, I'd still say his touches in the penalty area being only second to Haaland's, and also his total progressive distance being only second to Cunha. His numbers are decent, and I would still put him right there in the top 2 if I was picking anyone. Top 3, I'd say. He does fairly well. Now, let's switch to the eye test. So from the eye test, you're going to see that even before he was playing for Newcastle, from playing for the likes of William II or Real Sociedad, Isak is more at home when he's up front. As you see in these clips, he's up front, he holds the ball, he's linking up in that attacking third, drawing markers, drawing defenders, shielding the ball, and linking with the attacking players. It's either in the half spaces there or full on the center, even in the middle of the park. I think Isak, besides him having a smaller frame, so to speak, you'd be able to stand in as maybe an attacking midfielder who does have someone to do more of the heavy running for a 90-minute game. On the flanks, as you see in the previous clip or even in this one, he's able to hold off challenges as he's coming to his own body. Not to say that there are times it doesn't lose out. Sometimes if a defender is more robust, quicker, and is more or less akin to the danger of the pace, and they pace themselves and they can body check, he can be able to deal with the threat. But for the most part, as we've seen in the last couple of seasons, most people have difficulty. Now, the key stat to consider is progressive pass received, where Isak clearly outranks everyone. He's receiving the most forward moving balls, and that's like at least 10 yards from his furthest points in the last 6 passes. That's huge. Also, his number for received passes in general is not so bad. It's actually higher than Erling. Well, I think the key takeaway from me is the progressive pass received. That's important. It shows us receiving and holding the ball in dangerous areas, which is actually very much what we require for a striker. One of the traditional skills for any center forward is the chest to ball control. Isak has that. You saw in the opening clip where he's shooting, or in that previous clip, or when he's in the middle of play and he's just holding the ball to pass. But here again, he's in a similar situation. Chest makes a shot, his weaker foot didn't come out right. Here, under pressure, 3 players, goalkeeper, they just loops it. Like, it shows his confidence as a center forward, and even to draw back balls in the middle of play, he has that. Now let's take a look at how Isak holds and dribbles defenders in space. So from a stats perspective, Isak is doing a decent amount of work. 50% or so of the take-ons he does, he succeeds. His numbers, he's doing it a lot more than Šeško or Kane or Erling. Again, he's being beat in this regard by Cunha with a higher work rate. So from the eye test, you're going to see that Isak's main focus is mostly pushing the ball ahead of defenders. He doesn't really go too much emphasizing on a samba type of thing, though you do find that his coordination is relatively decent. Like in this clip, you're going to see that he is steady, he'll poke it and try and beat the defender for pace. Going to do over those little step overs and shoot. Now, another key thing I'm going to see emphasizing here is that Isak, the utility there is not showmanship. He's trying to make progress. He's trying, by all means, to get to the penalty area, close the distance between himself and that shooting area in which he's comfortable. Now, you're going to see that for the most part, if it's dribbling, he's not going to do a lot of dribbling in his own half. He's going to try and push the ball and move. In this clip, unfortunately, he lost the ball. But then in familiar territory, once he's in the penalty area, he's going to try and shoot or try and draw a foul. See there, he tries to move in. He's just harassing defenders. If he can't get a shot, he's going to make an assist. In 1v1s, it's the same situation. He's an imposing tall guy. There you have it. Onto his left, to his right, he shoots. Nothing fancy, nothing showmanship, just utility. In this next clip, it's the same thing. There you see his close distance, doesn't try to beat the one man. They like here, just does a step over, assists. So I think from a stats perspective, here we see justice. In terms of progressive distance and progressive carries, you actually see Isak is only second to Cunha. Although Hurricane's numbers too are a bit superior when you consider total number of carries there, we see that he is at it level. Not Šeško, not even Erling Haaland comes close to him in that regard. I think in as much we haven't seen him in the 25-26 season, Isak's proven himself, and I hope we see him soon. Now, in this clip, I'd actually cut it short. He started from as far back as his own middle third. See him bobbing, weaving. If you make a mistake of letting him go through and getting the penalty area, he's lethal. See, materializes into an assist. No one could deal with that. In this clip, like you mentioned, similarity to Henry, he hovers over the ball, shoots it, and it's a similar theme. He's quick on his feet, the ball is there, he's just hovering over it and protecting it. That's how Isak plays, and it's just beautiful to watch. So from the stats, Isak is actually fouled a lot more than Šeško or Haaland, but not as much as Kane or Cunha. It's important to note, though, that he does draw a lot more penalties. So the eye test shows how this mostly happens. When Isak dribbles, sometimes he gets those nasty little step-ons. Some people, because of the pace, see that some defenders just prefer to pull him back. there, beaten for pace, is a body hack. Once Isak does that turn and he's moving, once he's dribbled you, once he's got the ball past you, sidestepped you, some people just try to body check. On a younger, less fit Isak outside of the EPL, it used to be a major issue, but I think he's greatly improved his physique and fitness. Even his pace in the EPL these days is a lot more. If Isak moves and you let him go, he's going to run, he's going to make that assist, or he's going to link up. So from the eye test, you're going to see that Isak does put in a defensive shift, even from deep inside his own half. In terms of tackles and challenges, you're going to see that Isak is mostly active in the attacking third, but still his activity in the middle and defensive third in terms of tackles and challenges is not negligible. Considering his lean frame, he actually puts in a shift, working harder than Erling Haaland in most of those items and actually shaping up to do better than Šeško at times and just as well good as Harry Kane, though he does lose out in terms of those numbers in some aspects. So even in terms of interceptions, I think with the leaner, quicker frame, we see that his numbers are comparative to Šeško and actually superior to Harry Kane's in some aspects. Not very much, but it's there. This is going to be proved in the eye test. So from the eye test, you're going to see that Isak has that ability to step in and snuff out danger in terms of him being able to do those long leggy tackles and actually thwart danger in some regards, even deep in his own half. See that he's not one who's going to shy away from that sort of work. I'll emphasize though, because of his build, you don't really want to have him, the lean guy, be constantly getting into those tackles and exposing himself to a lot of injury. He's improved in his time in the EPL as I see, in terms of his physical fitness, but still you don't want him putting too much of a shift. You want your midfield and your defensive midfielders, the center backs, to be able to take care of that a lot so that you can utilize him more in his attacking role. I wanted us to go back again, like you see in this clip, and focus on his interception game. Like Isak will put in that shift where he essentially goes up, and if there is any lackluster pass in the back line, if there is any element of slowness, like you see from the numbers there, he's got a decent interception rate in terms of passes themselves, blocks. Most of the balls he'll recycle come up from those situations where he intercepts or shields or blocks. Now, if you take a look at these clips, we're taking a look at now in his time back then, we're playing at Willem in his younger days. I would think Isak was a bit sluggy, but still you could clearly see the intellect where he do a bit of pressing, those long leggy interceptions, and come up with assists or attempts on goal himself. Now, Isak, in the last couple of seasons, when you've been watching him playing with Newcastle, I think there's been a bit more of an infusion into his physique and into his actual energy. The sheer work rate that's required in the EPL requires an element of harassing defenders, especially with this line of form where you see that most clubs, like let's say you see in this clip, the teams like the Arsenal, will be trying to play out from the back and not really be focusing on those low balls. The amount of work Isak has been putting in there, I think it's been showing coming off the back of the 2024-2025 season, which clearly sparked some interest and controversial happenings today. Isak is worth the money. He's upped his game there. His pressing game is off the charts, and I believe he's in his prime. Probably maybe at his best ever.
Isak for Newcastle.
In terms of his penalty taking, I believe Isak ranks right up there with the likes of Harry Kane and Erling Haaland. The only difference here you'd note that is the volume of penalty kicks is taken, but if you look at the stats per 90, you clearly see that he has a decent conversion rate. I think it speaks volumes to have him in that designated penalty taker position for Newcastle in the last couple of seasons where he's been willingly engaged with them. He's a good penalty taker from the stats perspective, clearly up there with the top. So in terms of technique, Isak always opts to use his right foot, I think because there's an element of power in it, though I'll say that his penalty kicks don't really go through at blistering pace. There's a decent amount of power, but you also notice that there's a lot of placement. You're also going to notice that the biomechanics are right. He doesn't do a run-up. I don't really favor that sort of thing. The power that's there is generated by him from his frame.
And I also like that he doesn't focus on the goalkeeper like a good penalty taker. He picks his spots, knows where he's going to put it. He's not put off or influenced by the goalkeeper in any way. He actually leaves that element of managing the goalkeeper to the referee to see that there's no infringements. He has his mind made up. For me, he's an A-class penalty taker from the eye test.
This has been a technical analysis of Alexander Isak's game. We haven't seen anything of him in the 25-26 season, but last time around did a great outing. I do hope that him and Newcastle do resolve their impasse over this transfer issue, and hopefully we get to see him in a fluid attacking role again. Till the next one, Fred, Football Rasta, signing out. Nuance Sports.